Hello class, this is 2.6 and we deal with a few problems that are called equations of variation. Now this is a pretty short and easy section in your homework, so I will just leave this as a short and easy lesson. I'll just do a couple examples that you may encounter in the homework. Okay, so the first example, let's find the variation constant and an equation of variation. Okay, where y varies inversely as x. Okay, and then we're given the condition y equals 7 and x equals 5. So kind of a lot of vocab words here. Let's dissect this. Okay, so we have constant, the variational constant. We have y varies inversely, so a couple new vocab words here. Let me start with this, y varies inversely as x. What that means, right, that just means y will equal sort of 1 over x. That's an inverse relation. Alright, so that's an inverse relation here. Inverse relationship. Okay, but we also have a constant, right? The constant of variation. So that just means we multiply by a constant, some constant, I don't know, we could call it k. And then we have the inverse. Right, so this k, that's the constant variation. And then the y equals 1 over x is the inverse relationship of x and y. Okay, so we know the equation is going to look something like this. That's what all these words were telling us. So now all we have to do is plug in y equals 7, plug in x equals 5, solve for that constant. So once you know what these words mean, this is really easy. Alright, so plugging in, we do the 7 equals some unknown constant k, and plug in 5 for x. Okay, so to solve for k, we multiply both sides by 5. We get 35 equals k. So that's the constant. And then, therefore, the equation is y equals 35 times 1 over x. Or y equals 35 over x. And so there was the constant. This is the equation. Okay, not too bad. Let's look at a few more examples. So again, let's find the variation constant and equation variation. If y now varies directly with x, and then and we're given the condition y equals 6 when x equals 1/2. Okay, so last time we did an inverse variation. Now it's direct. So what does direct mean? Well, direct just means it's going to be y equals some constant times x. Now this is a direct variation, right? Y and x now vary directly with each other with just a constant. Whereas here, y and x are varying in an inverse sort of way, right? As this side gets bigger, or how do I want to say this? As we plug in bigger numbers in for x, it's going to make this side smaller because we had this inverse relation. But now, when we plug big numbers in here, this side will also get bigger. It's directly related to each other. Okay, so we plug in the condition, plug in the 6 for y, plug in the 1/2 for x, solve for k. We get that k equals 12, that's the constant. So therefore the equation is y equals 12 times x. Okay, not too bad. Let's look at the one last type of example you may encounter. This time, let's just find the equation, because you need to find the constant in order to find the equation. So this part of the sentence is kind of unnecessary to write because we need to find the constant. So I'm just going to save some time by saying find the equation of variation where now y will vary what is called jointly as x and z. Okay, and then we'll have the condition y equals 12 when x equals 2, z equals 6. So what the jointly word means is the following. We'll have an equation of this form. Y is some constant, x and z. So it's sort of like the direct, but now we have two variables here. Okay, so that's the jointly. Now we just plug in to solve for the constant. And there's the constant. So plugging in, we do the 12 for y, 2 for x, 6 for z. So we have 12 on the left-hand side, and then 2 times 6 is also 12. So these 12s cancel out, and we just get that k equals 1. Right? So now, plugging this constant back in to the equation, we get the equation is y equals 1 times x times z. Okay, so to recap this lesson, we can deal with sort of an inverse variation, which has this form, and just plug in the numbers to find the constant. We could deal with a direct equation that has this form, and then just plug in the numbers to find the constant. Or if we have another variable, we could do this jointly variation, and then we just plug in the 3 numbers to find the constant. And that concludes this lesson for 2.6. Thank you.